Hello, very good evening. Thank you for again catching me up, Aaron Okotel, on the Football Podcast. Generally, we shall be talking sports. This midweek, a lot of action that is waiting to happen, starting from the local scene. We have a lot of action that shall be happening this week. That will be the match day 3 of the Eastern Regional League. The same you'll talk of in the FUFA Big League because we are now talking match day 9 so far. Same as the Uganda Premier League, we shall have a lot of games that will be happening all midweek round, that is in the match day 9 of the Star Times Uganda Premier League. But particularly for this podcast, I prepared this script. We shall be talking more of the UEFA Champions League and the CAF Champions and the Confederation Cup, because action shall be setting in this midweek for the CAF competitions. Match day 1 will be starting, that will be today, Tuesday. I started this podcast before the games kicked off because El Ahly were supposed to take on, they were supposed to be in action against Steady Albajan they're supposed to take on MC Algiers. Yeah, I'll look around the fixture and see the teams that are so far in the group stages of the CAF Champions. The fixtures are here with me. Remember, El Ahly are the current defending champions of the CAF Champions League. El Ahly from Egypt, it has won this title for a record 18 times of the total CAF Champions League trophy. In 5 last seasons, El Ahly has won it. They are the African giants, that you can say. They will be hosting Ivory Coast's steady Abidjan in Cairo. That will be in Group C. Teams like Mamelodi Sundowns of South Africa, it has our own, that is Dennis Onyango, who plies his trade there. Looking at a couple of teams that have seen Ugandan players featuring in their ranks, we have the likes of Young Africans, that has our own Uganda Cranes captain, that is Khalid Aucho. We have Mamelodi Sundowns that I've mentioned already. It has former captain, that is Dennis Masinde Onyango. Esperance, it has also had a couple of Ugandan players in its ranks. There's a story that was last year of Richard Kasaga, who was rumored to be in contact of writing down a 2-year contract with Esperance. But I don't know whether the deal happened, but he was still playing in Egypt. That is for Olympic Beja, before he was rumored to be joining Esperance. Esperance is also part of the teams that shall feature in the group stages of the CAF Champions League. It is historical for Ugandans because we still have a couple of them who are featured for Esperance. Way back, Jackson Mayanja Biamia played for Esperance. Lately, I don't know, is he having any team that is currently coaching Jackson Mayanja? Because the latest news was last year, where he had joined KCCA. He was appointed as an interim manager, where he replaced Molebye Kwaso, who had resigned his position from the team. Esperance also had Charles Livingston Babas in its ranks. He is currently the coach of Barara City. Those are some of the Ugandan players that are featured for that team. Looking through the teams that are in the group stages, Roger Casablanca of Morocco, that is a no-brainer. We've had a Ugandan striker, Mohamed Shaban, who played for Raja Casablanca. That time when he was in his hot form, that was around, was it 2017, where he was the top scorer in the league. That was with KCCA. He had scored 18 goals before he went on to scoop that deal with the Moroccan Premier League side, Raja Casablanca. Pyramids is also part of the teams in the group stages of the CAF Champions League. Abdul Mala in 2019 featured for Pyramids, where Pyramids got him because of that sweet form that he showcased during the group stages of the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations. That was under the head coach Sebastian Dosabri. That is Abdul. Orlando Pirates of South Africa is also part of the teams in the CAF Champions League group stages. we've had a Ugandan, that is Yasamu Gerwa, who switched from URA to go to South Africa to Orlando Pirates. So those are some of the clubs in the CAF Champions League group stages. You will still talk of some clubs that will feature in the Confederation Cup that is also underway. That is this week in match day 1. Starting from Tanzania's side, that is Simba, that has the Uganda Cranes striker Disa Makwali, who this year signed a 3-year contract with the team. Disa Makwali was previously at Asante Kotoko from Ghana, where he performed really so well in the previous 2 seasons before he switched to Tanzania. And then another Ugandan high-profile player, that is Simon Seru Ukuma, played for Simba. Emmanuel Okwi was also at one time at Simba. You'll talk of Morishid Juko, that Tadeo Luangaz, who's currently in Rwanda, have previously featured for the Tanzanians Simba. You'll talk of El Meseri, Ejib of Nigeria. You'll talk of SC Sofien, is also in the Champions League. Yudis Sentabu, 6 years ago, he played for Sofesien before he came back to play for Soa Club Vipers. So those are some of the teams. RS Baked is also on the list. RS Bakedi had a Ugandan player, that is Patrick Kadu. He one time featured for that team. Then USM Aljaz, Orapa United, Zamalek. Zamalek previously had Travis Mutiaba. Travis Mutiaba broke a record where he went on to become the first Ugandan player to win the CAF Confederation Cup after he signed Zamalek, beat RS Bakedi. That was in the finals last year. Currently, Travis Mutiaba is playing his trade, that is in France. So that is what is happening. No Ugandan club that will be featuring in either the CAF Champions League or the CAF Confederation Cup, because Soa Club Villa was the team that participated in the preliminaries. We anticipated that a return for Soa Club Villa to continental football, that was after 20 years, a lot of frustration, but however they were eliminated in the preliminary round by Ethiopia's Commercial Bank, by Ethiopia's club, that is Commercial Bank of Ethiopia. And then the other team that represented Uganda in the preliminaries was Chitara Football Club. It was a debutant on the continent, but it is search for group stage football of CAF came to an end following a 3-2 defeat to Libya's side, that is El Ahly Benghazi. So on the record of African football, we still have Soa Club Villa is the last team. That is, no, it's not Soa Club Villa. KCC was the last team to play the group stages of the CAF competitions. That was in 2017 under Mike Mutebi. I still so much remember that team. It was a darling team for Ugandan football, where they went on to get that record win against they got a win against Club Africains. Those goals that were scored by Derek Simami and Tom Masiko. That lineup that had the likes of Benjamin Ochan in the goal, the defensive line had the captain Dennis Okot. He was playing with Timothy Awanyi. Isaac Muleme was playing in number 2. The likes of Paul Musamali, the likes of Saddam Ibrahim Juma, the likes of strikers Geoffrey Seru, Kuman Jackson Inunda, Derek Simabi were part of that historical team of 2017 of KCCA that featured, that is in the CAF Confederation Cup, the CAF Champions League group stages. The last club was Soa Club Villa, and back then it was still called Nachivo Villa, that went on to reach the CAF Confederation, the CAF Champions League finals twice. That was in 1991 and 1992. In 1992, they lost to Shooting Stars in a 2-leg final victory. So it has been so long since we had Ugandan teams featuring in the CAF competitions. I don't know what shall be required to retain that glory, There is some news that came in from the FIFA website that I read today. They are currently developing a master plan for Ugandan football. I never know, in the years to come, we shall be having teams that will be putting up good competitions, that is in the CAF competitions, the Confederation Cup and the Champions League. Before we switch to Europe, very good news for the African continent, because Barbara Banda of Orlando Pirates, a Zambian striker, has been voted by the BBC as the Women's Footballer of the Year for 2024. That is, they counted the achievement in the past 12 months. She was chosen, just like the Ballon d'Or, she was chosen by a panel of experts, including coaches, players, and administrators, plus journalists. Barbara Banda, a 24-year-old, has some her stories is quite emotional. To play in Europe when she signed for Logroño, that was in 2018. Logroño is a Spanish club. Currently, Uganda is still boasting of a striker, Fazila Ikwaput. She's the first Ugandan to play and score in the UEFA Women's Champions League. That was in 2017. Fazila Ikwaput was then featuring for an Indian club, that is Gokalem Kerala. So Barbara Banda, in her Zambian ranks, she's the first woman to play in Europe. From Spain, she went to China. She signed for a Chinese club, that was Shangeli, where after she switched from Shangeli, China, and went to America in Orlando Pirates. That deal, switching to Orlando Pirates, was a record-breaking. That was it was £740,000 that they signed her to go to Orlando Pirates. Orlando Pride. That is the team. I was confusing with Orlando Pirates. Orlando Pirates is a Ugandan team. Is a South African team. But her signing from Shangeli made her the second most expensive woman in football history. That is behind her Zambian teammate, Rachel Kundanaji. Remember, Zambia's Rachel Kundanaji became the most expensive woman in women's football in its history when she joined Bayer FC from Soccer Club Madrid. That was a record that can be estimated to over 2 billion Ugandan shillings. She's currently a teammate for another African player, that is Osasite Oshoali, who plays for Nigeria. Kundanaji becomes the first African player, male or female, to break a world transfer record. Because male or female, I mean, she's the most expensive. Because in the male ranks, Victor Osimhen must be the most expensive African footballer. When he signed, that is, when Napoli signed him on a record fee of £100 million, that is estimated to be around over 3 billion Ugandan shillings, is currently the most expensive. Previously, there was Nicolas Pepe, who was signed by Arsenal from Lille. That was a record fee of £80 million. The Ivory Coast international. But currently, Victor Osimhen leads the table of the most expensive African footballers, the likes of Ashraf Hakimi. Ashraf Hakimi was around £60 million that was signed from that signed him from Italy. He was previously in Italy before he switched to play for Paris Saint-Germain. So Kundanaji had already broken that record as the most expensive footballer, male or female. But we are still talking Barbara Banda, who has been voted the BBC Player of the Year. Banda became the leading African goal scorer in the Olympic history with 10 goals. She scored 4 goals for Zambia at the previous Paris Olympics, and that was during the summer, including a first hat-trick against Australia. In 2022, despite being named in Zambia's original squad for the Women's Africa Cup of Nations, that is the WAFCON, she was not selected for the tournament on some gender eligibility grounds. details of that story never came out. I tried to research them on several websites, but it was rumored that her levels of testosterone were quite abnormal for a female. That means an increase of muscular mass, and her strength couldn't match other female footballers. So she was banned to represent Zambia in the Africa Cup of Nations for the women category. Since that tournament, Banda has continued to be good at both club and international careers. That is in the Women's World Cup of 2023 and the Paris Olympics of 2024, and then for Orlando Pride, her club that she currently features for. So whatever she has done to win the BBC Player of the Year, it has nothing to do with African football. So I believe CAF has no right to celebrate Barbara Banda for winning that accolade, because they banned her to compete to represent her country in the Women's Africa Cup of Nations. What surprises me, if CAF goes on to bar a player to participate in the continental action, but still UEFA in the UEFA in the Champions League and the Olympic Committee agrees with her to participate or compete in the competition with other females on normal grounds, the same as the World Cup. She was there, but with the African continent, they refused her to participate. I don't know whether she will be part of the next edition of the WAFCON. We shall be awaiting for that. Let's switch to the European scene, because this week is full of actions, that is in the Champions League, in the newly set format of the UEFA Champions League. Big games that we shall be awaiting to see. First and foremost, at the Allianz Arena, where it will be playing host to a blockbuster contest. That is on Tuesday night, with Bayern Munich welcoming Paris Saint-Germain, as both teams will be under pressure to pick up some positive results. Bayern are down in the 17th spot, that is the Champions League table, after picking up just 6 points from their 4 European matches this season, while the French counterparts, that is PSG, are currently 25th, with their coach Luis Enrique currently on a little bit of pressure. They have only gathered 4 points from their opening 4 games in the Champions League. For Bayern Munich, they will enter this match of a back of a 4-1 defeat to Barcelona, that is in the previous game of the Champions League, while PSG are still waiting for their first Champions League trophy. You may start thinking, according to such statistics, they may not win the Champions League this season. We had to announce them as the Champions League champions this season. And despite boosting such huge names in their forward line recently, they had the likes of Lionel Messi, the likes of Neymar, Kylian Mbappe, but such big names have failed to bring them have failed to bring PSG Champions League success. But ever since Kylian Mbappe left to join Real Madrid, there has quite been a change in the identity of PSG. Well, they have started to bring on their own academy graduates and young players to make up its team. We have seen a focus of young players at the PSG squad, the likes of Ibrahim Baye, a 16-year-old, Warren Zaïre-Emery is just 18 years, Yoram Zagwe, 18 years of age, the likes of Bradley Bakola, 22 years of age, who is said to have stepped in Kylian Mbappe's absence, because currently the youngster Bradley Bakola is having 10 goals in 12 matches, and that is the French League One, is currently the top scorer. PSG have won only one of their 4 games in these Champions League competitions. That puts them on a daunting task as they face Bayern Munich today. But however, for their side, it is always business as usual, because in the French League One, they currently sit 6 points clear at the top, and they are currently unbeaten after 12 games. But in Europe, it is always a different story for PSG. After them beating Girona 1-0 in their opening game, They went on and drew 1-1 with PSV Eindhoven, and they lost the previous game 2-1. That was to Atletico Madrid. That leaves them 25th on the 36-team league and 5 points off 8th. The final place that qualifies automatically for the next round, that is of the Champions League. But it will be so interesting to see what will come out from this game at the Allianz Arena between Bayern Munich and Paris Saint-Germain. Real Madrid will be traveling to Anfield, and that will be on Wednesday as they watch out on Liverpool. Madrid are currently 18 on the 66-team Champions League table, and Liverpool are currently topping the table. Madrid named a 19-man traveling squad for the trip to Liverpool, and there was no place for Vinicius Jr. He is said to have suffered an injury in the last La Liga game, that is in his left leg. According to some Spanish newspapers, Vinicius Jr. could be sidelined for around that is 3 weeks. That means that he could miss up to 7 games before the winter break. That is another problem for Carlo because they are already under pressure in the La Liga, as Barcelona surprised them. Real Madrid are second in the domestic league, that is the La Liga, 4 points behind Barcelona. Barcelona drew 2-2 with Celta Vigo, and that was during the weekend on Saturday. But however, Real Madrid are having a game in hand. While Vinicius Jr. is injured, he becomes the latest to join the club's lengthy injury list, which includes key players such as Rodrigo Goes. Eder Militao is currently sidelined with injury. Dani Carvajal is injured. Lucas Vazquez, Oriol Chouameni, David Alaba has not featured this season, so Carlo Ancelotti is quite in trouble with the rate of injuries that he has gone on to suffer. That is with the team Real Madrid. But speaking of the tie with top table Liverpool in the Champions League, if you come back to the Premier League, you start thinking, is the title already gone? Because Liverpool's last weekend win against Southampton, that was on Sunday, moved them 8 points clear on the top spot in the Premier League. It is a record because statistics show that the other teams that have led by 8 points at such a stage of 12 games, and that was Manchester City in the 2017-2018 season, and Liverpool itself, that was the 2019-2020 season under Jurgen Klopp. Both teams went on to be crowned champions. Like currently, Liverpool are 31 points from the opening 12 games of the Premier League. What else would you think of other than Liverpool going on to win the title this season? If Ancelotti's side beats City, and that is at Anfield on Sunday, I'm sure they will now be 11 points clear of Manchester City, the defending champions, who are in the second place. Liverpool look good to go to win the trophy of the Premier League this season. But a very challenging tie awaits them against the Galacticos. That is tomorrow at Anfield. Man City will also be in the action in the Champions League. A lot of scrutiny is currently so intense on City right now. Guardiola's team has been questioned on the way it is being played right now, because at the status quo of Manchester City, it is really so frustrating. If Pep Guardiola doesn't deliver results, I'm sure he will also be risking his job, just like any other coach, any other manager in Europe. He does need a positive result to ease the burden on himself currently. After their 5th straight defeat across all competitions, Manchester City will now be back in action against Feyenoord, that is from Netherlands. Pep Guardiola's side were humiliated 4-0 by Tottenham Hotspur. That was on Saturday in the Premier League. It was a shock defeat. I followed a press conference of him today as they prepare for the trip to Feyenoord. Guardiola denied some factors that Manchester City's run of 5 consecutive defeats is that his squad has aged so much, because most of his players are currently now 30 years and above old. The likes of Mateo Kovacic, the likes of Bernardo Silva, the likes of John Stones, Ederson Morales, the second goalkeeper Stefan Ortega, Kevin De Bruyne, Ilkay Gundogan, Kyle Walker, the third goalkeeper Scott Carson. All those players I've just mentioned are all above the age of 30. You can include Ilkay Gundogan as well. The guy has also aged. So this could be one of the problems that City is facing. I don't know, but Pep Guardiola went on and denied it. City, as we know, Pep Guardiola, with his record and legendary coaching status, is capable of some more exceptional spells of football. Because even in the previous games, because if you watch statistics of the Tottenham Hotspur game that they lost 4-0, they were the better side of creating chances. Because Tottenham Hotspur just had something like 9 shots on goal compared to City, who had over 10 of them. So you still stay confident that City will come back to life anytime. But there is that vulnerability about the team right now, because if you follow that game of Tottenham Hotspur, all the goals that Spurs scored came through transition. That was the 3 counter-attacks from inside their own house, their own half, plus that misplaced pass that from the left back. That was Jasko Viediol, who misplaced a pass and they conceded that goal again. You see, there's that bit problem of vulnerability. Maybe the back is not well structured, or you can still point out that glaring problem of Rodri's absence as part of it, because if you talk about those counter-attacks, there always been 2 players who have been protecting Manchester City in such scenarios. In such scenarios, the people who have been protecting those spaces in front of the defensive line has always been the midfielder Rodri, because that guy is so exceptional. I doubt whether there's anyone who does it as him in the football history currently. But it's so it is very impossible to say that they don't miss him. Then the other alternative was Kovacic, who is currently also ruled out for another 3 to 4 weeks because of injury. The other person who has been protecting its backline has been Kyle Walker, because of those counter-attacks would run so fast because of his pace. But currently, is part of the players that I mentioned, the likes of Ilkay Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva. Kyle Walker equally is old. He's currently 34 years. You would say that his pace has also equally reduced. So those are some of the problems that Guardiola is currently facing. And the run out of form of some of his players, the likes of Phil Foden and John Stones, have not been in the right pace, because Phil Foden was voted the best player of the Premier League last season. John Stones played one of his best seasons, where he featured most times in the midfield. But since those 2 players returned from the Euros for England, they've never showed it all what they gave out that was last season on the pitch. Erling Haaland, who has missed most of the chances currently in the Premier League, is also not on form right now. However, he's still the leading top scorer. So you be confident that City may come back to form. That may be anytime soon. They be playing a game against Feyenoord, who have also not looked so well. That is in the Eredivisie. That is in the Netherlands Football League. I'm sure Pep Guardiola needs that win to bring back the confidence, because their next game in the Premier League will be against that is Liverpool, a tough one for them to come. Wind this down with Arsenal, because Arsenal will also resume their Champions League duties away to Portuguese side, that is Sporting Lisbon. That game will be played on Tuesday evening. The Gunners put 3 goals past Nottingham Forest without any replay. That was over the weekend, where while their hosts, that is Sporting Lisbon, started off their era away from Ruben Amorim, who went on to join Manchester United. Their previous game, they won 6-0 against Teca de Portugal. I don't know if that goal winning scoreline will give them some more confidence as they take on Arsenal. That is the Champions League. Currently, Ruben Amorim has settled with Manchester United. They gave chance to their academy coach, that is Yao Pereira. He was given a 3-year contract basis to kick off his reign with a 6-goal win. That was in the previous weekend. The big player to watch in this game, that is for Sporting Lisbon against Arsenal, will be Victor Gokares, because he's currently an Arsenal target. Arsenal believe that they can bring him in their ranks to help with their goal scoring goals. Gokares is the same player who struck a hat-trick to help their side, that is Sporting Lisbon, to beat Manchester City in their previous Champions League game. Remember, he was at one time the same player who dumped Arsenal out of the 2022-2023 Europa League, and that was on the last 16 in the penalties. So it will be a very interesting game to watch. That is for Sporting Lisbon taking on Arsenal. A lot of more games are lined up for you this weekend. This midweek rather. Bayer Leverkusen taking on RB Salzburg. Barcelona will be playing Brest. Inter Milan taking on RB Leipzig. Then Younger Boys shall be on against that is Atalanta. Some of the games on Tuesday's night. And then on Wednesday, AC Monaco against Benfica. Aston Villa taking on Juventus, and FC Bologna will be on against Lille. Dynamo Zagreb against Borussia Dortmund. PSV Eindhoven against Shakhtar Donetsk. Those are some of the games that are lined up in the Champions League. That is this midweek. We shall end this podcast at this. We shall be awaiting for the results that will be coming out as we prepare for another action of the English Premier League. That will be during the weekend. That is what the next podcast will be featuring on. If at all you're watching and listening to me, Aaron Okotel, do be good. Like and subscribe and share. It is the only way we can keep growing together with this mutual relationship. Until then, I thank you for listening.